Chapter 25. Rimiru beats Hinata. After Bimaru, Soya, and Shinon have left to fight their own opponents, Rimiru faced off against Hinata and Sare. Hinata, enhanced with her inhuman speed, appeared in front of Rimiru and tried to stab him, but he simply deflected her strike with his sword. Hinata, not losing momentum, started to exchange multiple slashes at Rimiru, with the intent of cutting him, but like all her other attacks of hers, Rimiru blocked them all with his sword. The force that Rimiru applied to his sword whenever Hinata clashed her own sword with his was so powerful that it almost numbed Hinata's hands. Hinata, who noticed this, jumped back to create some distance between herself and Rimiru, but Rimiru simply stayed at the same spot he was at from the start of the fight. Not long after Hinata had jumped back, Sare rushed with his own sword and prepared to slash Rimiru at his neck. With his guard was down, but his sword was stopped by Rimiru's multiple barriers before it could reach him. Sare was sent flying back from the force that occurred when his sword impacted with Rimiru's multiple barriers. Rimiru did not even look at Sare when that happened. He focused on his whole attention on Hinata and never did remove his attention from her. Sare, after regained himself, saw that indeed Rimiru was not even acknowledging him as an opponent. This made him very angry. "I will make you pay for underestimating me," he vowed to himself. Hinata also noticed this and was happy with the situation. She was happy because if Rimiru had his attention on her, then there will be no need for Sare to die a needless death. From the little exchange she had with Rimiru, she confirmed that he was miles above her in power. The difference was wide for her to even hope to match, but she will be unforgivable if she couldn't at least scratch him before she lost. Rimiru looked at Hinata without any expression on his face. "Is it really the best you've got, Hinata? I thought you were supposed to be the best among all the holy church. And don't tell me this is your limit." Hinata knew that he was taunting her, but she will be lying if she said that his taunts were not a gain to her. Sare gritted his teeth from being ignored. "I will show you, jerk." He raised his sword high in the air, and a huge amount of mana began to pour into his body to his sword. From his body to his sword, he started screaming as a huge magic circle appeared in the air. "Not yet. This is not nearly enough to finish a being like you," Sare shouted and poured more mana into the circle. More magic circles appeared above the magic circle that was above Rimiru. Sare created a multi-layer circle barrier, magic circle above Rimiru. The magic circle began to absorb magicals from the air itself. Particles of light began to gather inside the magic circle, while the circle itself began to glow multiple colors. Rimiru saw the magic circle above him and raised his sword. "Oh, no, you don't." Sare, seeing what Rimiru was about to do, stabbed his sword into the ground. Immediately after he stabbed his sword in the ground, multiple portals appeared around Rimiru, both in the air and on the ground. Chains appeared from the portals that wrapped around Rimiru and began to wrap around his body. The chains were specifically designed to bind spiritual life forms. It simply cannot be damaged by anyone. These chains also possess the ability to suck away a target's magicals and skills the longer it binds the target. The stronger the target magicals is, the tighter the chains will bind the target. This was the power that was granted to Sare when he felt helpless before Hinata's power by the voice of the world. Due to his desire to be the best holy knight in the world, he was granted the skill that allows him to bind anyone or anything, even true dragons. Nothing can break these chains once it binds a target. This skill was known as soul bind because it not only bound the physical body but the spiritual body as well. He was saving this move for his rematch with Hinata, but he was certain that it could bind anyone, even someone as strong as Rimiru. There's no way you are breaking out of those chains, Demon Lord Rimiru Tempest. Though these chains not only bind you, but it also drains you of your magic and skills. No amount of magical barriers can save you from them because it nullifies all types of magic and skills that it comes in contact with. You are finished, Demon Lord Rimiru, Sarah shouted at him. Hinata had a gobsmacked expression from seeing the skill of Sarah's. She didn't know what powers that those chains possessed because her unique skill, Upserter, I can't pronounce that, could not steal it. But after hearing Sarah's explanation, she began to have hope. Will this be enough to beat Rimiru? Those chains are powerful, but will it even bind someone as powerful as Rimiru? I hope this works, she thought to herself. Sarah had a smug look on his face. As he looked, he bounded Rimiru. This would have not happened if you didn't underestimate me, but it's too late for you. Let your arrogance that led you to your demise be your lesson in your next life. Now take this maximum holy disintegration. The magic circle above Rimiru began to glow brighter and released a powerful disintegration attack on Rimiru. But Rimiru, seeing this, began to release his aura from his body, which covered the surroundings in a purple mist. An attack like this is too weak to bind someone like me, Rimiru casually said to Sarah. After he said that, to everyone's amazement and to Sarah's dismay, the chains that was binding Rimiru broke into pieces. Sarah had a dumbfounded look as he witnessed the impossibility before him, but his distress was only just beginning. Rimiru looked up at the magic circle above him. His eyes glowed a bright gold color, and immediately the magic circles shattered into pieces. All the magic it was absorbing a minute ago began to flow into Rimiru. Sarah and Hinata could not believe what they were seeing with their eyes. Rimiru, not only did he break an unbreakable chain, he also destroyed a high-level disintegration spell just by looking at it. This was beyond being overpowered. This was on the level of gods. How did you break my soul bind? It has the power to even bind true dragons. The voice of the world said so itself, Sarah shouted at Rimiru. Rimiru looked at Sarah with an expressionless look. He raised his hand and pointed his finger at Sarah. In the next moment, a super concentrated light laser attack shot out of his fingertip and moved at a speed beyond light. It passed through Sarah's brain. The attack was so fast for anyone to react against it. It killed Sarah in a blink of an eye, without him even realizing how he died. Sarah's body fell to the ground, and a pool of blood began to form where his body laid. Hinata, who witnessed all this, could do nothing but mourn Sarah in her heart. She knew that this was not the time nor the place to mourn him, because if she was not careful, she would be the next one to die. She gave Rimiru a wary look. Just how did you break those chains, and how did you destroy the magic barrier? The magic circle. Rimiru smirked at her. Destroying that magic circle is easy, because I have already developed a counter for it, after you used it on me and on our first encounter. As for the chains, let's just say I have possessed the power to rewrite the laws and nature of any reality and leave it at that. Though those chains really took me by surprise, its power was the real deal. If it had been anyone else who was bound by those chains, then they would be sure that they would not be winning that fight. Rimiru thought to himself. Or not, Master, I've already copied the extra skill Soulbind. After some analysis done on the skill, I was able to combine it with your unique skill, spatial motion, to create a unique skill, Void Time Cage. This skill has the power to create chains that combine anyone or any entity from any known reality and timeline or dimension. The new chains is now made up of the same properties as Master's body, which made it pretty much indestructible. So long as Master knows a target, the Master can bind the target wherever he may be, regardless of the laws of reality or time. Rimiru now had a deadpan look on his face. That skill and her hobby of always creating overpowered skills for me, well, she just wants me to be the strongest, so I can't really be angry with her. Master is already the strongest, but I appreciate your kind words. After all, Master needs to be the strongest for what's to come. What do you mean, CL? Rimiru thought in confusion. Nothing, Master, it's just your imagination. That line you always use when you don't want to be honest with me. Oh well, if it's something serious, I know you will tell me, Rimiru thought with a smile. Rimiru smiled and looked at Hinata, who stood still, looked at him with wide eyes. Hinata was completely lost on what to do. Rimiru just casually said that he has the power to rewrite the very nature of this world. And how is she supposed to beat that? She didn't like saying that, but situations like this is why she thinks this world is so unfair to her. She has been training herself and sharpening her skills for 10 years straight. But some slime just appeared and somehow becomes a god in apparently 2 years. Yeah, life is very unfair. She took the Dragon Buster sword that the clergy gave her and threw it away. After that, she drew her original sword and was given to her by Luminous herself, Moonlight, a legendary class blade. She activated her holy spirit armor that covered her entire body. She took a fighting stance and prepared for a battle that will decide whether she lives or dies. She was no longer holding back anything. She was now prepared to give it her all or die trying. Rimiru gestured for her to come at him with his hand, and the fight resumed. Hinata moved at a very high speed and appeared in front of Rimiru and slashed him with her sword, but Rimiru deflected with his own sword. Both began to exchange blows, with Rimiru mostly deflecting and Hinata attacking relentlessly with everything she had. Unlike before, Hinata was holding back this time around. She can take a little bit of Rimiru's strength without her hands going completely numb. This just shows that she was holding nothing back. Not even still, the gap between her and Rimiru was simply too wide. Hinata gave a frustrated grunt from seeing her slashes being easily deflected by Rimiru. She had even revved up her skill measurer, which sped up her mind thousands of times and allows her to predict skills and attack patterns of everything around her, but it still wasn't enough to phase Rimiru. She has nothing to try, and she felt very cornered, but continued to exchange slashes for a while until Rimiru disappeared from Hinata's sight and appeared in front of her. The next thing Hinata knew was a knee pushing itself inside her stomach, which caused her to cough up a huge amount of blood from her mouth. She was sent flying back until her back hit a tree with a huge boom, which caused dust clouds to appear. Rimiru just kneed her in the stomach, which sent her flying. Hinata weakly stood up and looked at Rimuru, who was still watching her every move. I guess nothing I have will work on him now. My only hope now is to use that move. Let's just hope it works. Are you ready to surrender, Hinata? I would like to end this fight between us if at all possible, Rimuru told her. Hinata laughed a bitter laugh. To tell you the truth, Rimuru, I only came here to apologize to you about how I attacked you for no reason. Rimiru had a surprised look on his face. Then let's stop this fight and talk it out. That's not possible. From seeing your subordinates on the cliff and the fact that I no longer sense my comrades made me realize that they're all dead. I cannot quit when all of them have gave their lives for my ambition. I have a duty as their captain to see this fight through to the end, Hinata said to Rimuru. Rimuru sighed and looked at her with a hardened expression. Have it your way, then, but the next attack will settle us. Hinata gave a small and bright smile to Rimuru. I couldn't agree more. Something about that smile made Rimuru to lose all resentment he had towards her. The smile was pure, and it conveyed just the kind of weight she was carrying on her shoulders. Rimiru wanted to help her, but he knew that now was not the time for that. He readied himself for whatever Hinata was planning. Hinata began to gather magicals in her hand that was holding her sword. This was disintegration spell, but she was gathering it all as glowing particles in her left hand, which was holding her sword. After she was done gathering it, she imbued it with her moonlight sword. With the force she gathered, her whole body was now glowing a very bright light, with tiny particles shooting out of it. Here I come, Rimuru Tempest! Melt Slash! Hinata shouted as she moved at a superhuman speed that went beyond the speed she was moving at before. She was literally moving at the speed of light and was heading straight for Rimuru. A few moments later, Hinata's skill crossed paths with Rimuru, which resulted in a huge bright light that covered the entire battlefield. The light died down, and Hinata was seen standing in front of Rimuru with her body covered in many wounds and her light armor gone. She was totally spent and had nothing left except for her pride and dignity. She looked at Rimuru before her vision blurred, and she began to fall toward Rimuru. But Rimuru caught her in his right hand before she reached the ground and laid her gently on the ground and watched her as she breathed in slowly. Rimuru could have cancelled her skills with the help of Ciel and killed her in the moment when she was rushing towards him, but with that crazy powerful skill of hers, he didn't. The look of determination in her eyes was as she rushed him, knowing that this is her final moment, reminded him of Shizu. Because of that, he just couldn't bring himself to hurt her, and instead took the attack head on. The attack would have done a lot of damage to him had it been before he awakened to a true dragon, but now it didn't even tickle, but something was off. Rimuru looked at his body and saw that it was a very faint and shallow cut at the bottom of his clothes. The cut didn't reach his body, but still damaged his clothes a little. He smiled and looked at Hinata with pride. From the moment the fight began, Rimuru had been reading Hinata's mind and heard her promise to herself that she would at least scratch him before she lost to him. He smiled at the kind of woman she had become. Shizu, you will be so proud of her if you can see the kind of woman she has become. Rimuru thought to himself as he watched the sleeping Hinata that was lying on the ground. Just then, Rimuru sensed something heading towards his way at very high speed. He activated his barrier and deflected the thing that turned out to be a sword. He turned around and saw two people wearing white robes with a hood which covered their head. The two individuals landed on the ground in front of Hinata and kneeled. Bimaru, Soye, and Shinon jumped down and landed behind Rimuru. The two people looked up at Hinata. "Greetings, Demon Lord Rimuru. We are from the 7 Days Clergy, and we are faithful servants of our god Luminous." Rimuru nodded. "The pleasure is mine. Now then, why are you two here, and why were you targeting Hinata?" "It's because Hinata has committed a grave sin against our god Luminous, and she must be punished," one of the clergy said. "And we have been charged with the duty of eliminating her. So if you would hand her over," the second clergy said. Rimiru got angry with the tone they were using. He calmed his anger and looked at them. There's no way that is happening. She attacked my nation and she answered for it. If you insist on killing her, then I will take it up with your leader. For now, I want you two to leave my nation immediately," he told them. "That's not going to happen," the clergy answered. "I will inform you that if you are going against us, you will be starting a war between our two nations," the clergy warned him. Shinon could not contain her anger any longer. "How dare you talk that way to Lord Rimuru? I'm going to make you two wish you didn't come here." She brought out her sword and prepared to launch an attack, but Rimuru stopped after Rimuru stretched out his hand in her way. "Don't attack Shinon, because those two are mine to dispose of. I received a thought message from Diablo. It seems that he captured 2 members of the 7 Days Clergy and were very generous to reveal their whole plans after a little bit of torture from Diablo," Rimuru informed his subordinates. Rimuru looked at the 2 clergy with an angry expression. "You two, 7 Days Clergy, think you have been all smart, huh? You manipulated the paladins to attack my nation, knowing that Hinata will never abandon her comrades. You wanted me to fight Hinata and kill her because she was an obstacle in your ways, and even framed the death of Rahim on my demon subordinate, with the aim of having the masses on your side. The 7 Days Clergy have gotten way too arrogant for my liking. I'm going to teach you two why you should never mess with me or my nation." The 2 clergy immediately jumped back to the air and looked at Rimuru like he was nothing. "To think that you will find our plans," the first clergy said to him in a cocky voice. "It doesn't matter, though, because we don't have a plan. We don't plan on letting any of you survive," the second clergy said. Our preparations are complete. We know how powerful you are, Demon Lord Rimuru, but we have also factored into our plans," the first clergy said. We are not powerful enough to defeat you, but we will offer up our lives to ensure that you and everyone are killed," the second one said. Rimuru and the rest watched the two as they flew up and began their monologue. Rimuru saw the strength of this two. Although it was impressive when compared to humans, it was simply laughable when compared to any of his subordinates. Because of this, he wanted to observe and see what is giving these two the confidence that they could defeat him. Bimaru, Soye, and Shinon began seeing that Rimuru was observing the two, and decided to do the same, and only attack when he gives the signal. The 2 clergy raised their hand in the sky. A giant summoning circle appeared in the sky. Now come, demons. We summon you to bring an end to this worthless nation of monsters. We offer up our lives along with our souls of all the monsters in the Jura forest as payment. Come now and heed our summon, the two clergy shouted together. The magic summoning circle glowed in color before it slowly opened like a gate. After it opened, two individuals came out and descended to the ground. The two clergy fell to the ground and the bodies turned to dust and was blown away. Bimaru and the rest were on guard after seeing the two demons that were summoned, but Rimiru was calm. Rimiru looked at the two and saw that both of them were female, with the one to his right having yellow hair, and the one to his left having purple hair. The purple one was dressed like an anime lolly and was wearing a dress, while the yellow one stood with a confidence, and she was wearing a female war uniform. The magic the two were emitting was impressive. It was on par with Diablo when he was first summoned. Are these two on the same level with Diablo? Answer. The two demons are archdemons and the first generation of demons. So, two archdemons, I'm not worried about fighting them, but it would be a pain if they destroyed the forest was destroyed during a clash. In that case, I have no choice, Rimiru thought to himself. Rimiru raised his finger and clicked it. The next moment, the two demons, Bimaru, and Shinon himself, disappeared their area in a world filled with nothing. It was covered in darkness due to having no sunshine. It was filled with an endless void, the world of the void. The two demons became alarmed after looking around and not understanding where they were. Yo, Violet, where are we? The yellow demon asked. How should I know? We were summoned by those pathetic humans to wipe out a nation or something, and the next thing we know, we are here, the purple demon known as Violet answered. That nation you were summoned to destroy is my nation, and I will not let you do that. Who said that? The yellow demon known as Jane shouted. Both demons looked and saw three evolved ogres standing behind a silver-haired woman who was looking at them with an unreadable expression. Sorry for not introducing myself. I am Demon Lord Rimiru Tempest, and I will not let the two of you do as you please. This is my private dimension that I created where nothing can escape without my permission, Rimiru told them. And the yellow demon smiled. I see, a Demon Lord, huh? I've had my fair share of fighting you, Demon Lord, and you ain't gonna be any different. She got into a fighting stance. So if we beat you, then we can leave this place, right? That sounds easy, the purple demon said, also got into her fighting stance. I wouldn't underestimate me if I were you. The arrogance might be your downfall, Rimiru told them. The two female demons began to generate a massive amount of mana as they prepared to engage Rimiru in a fight. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe today to become one of my domestic listeners. Goodbye and peace out, everyone.